Perfect. Welcome back, everybody, to the Unscripted Support Podcast. Today, we have two special guests that I believe that they're doing an amazing job in what they call redefining divorce. I'll leave it to you, Deanna and Mandy, so you can do your own introduction, and from there, we're going to continue with a couple of questions that I believe that this is going to be a game changer episode. So I'll leave it
Awesome.
to you.
Thank you so much for having us, Michael. We think the work that you do is so important as well. I'm Deanna Coyle, and I'm one of the founders of Vesta, and I also do our marketing and head up the Concierge with Mandy. And I went through a very challenging divorce that was finalized around 14 years ago, and I had given up a high-paying job to be a stay-at-home mom, and I had young children at the time. They were 4 and 6. And going through divorce, came up unexpectedly, as it often does, and was so concerned about my kids and also just myself and how, I was going to get to the other side. And the first thing I did was hire a divorce attorney because I thought that's what you do. And I hired somebody that a friend had used. And luckily, she turned out to be a really great attorney. But some of the mistakes I made were utilizing her for everything. So it got to be very expensive, and it's not, it takes them away from what they're really good at when inadvertently you start using them as a therapist. Or, talk about this a lot. Even though I'd been in finance all my life, I didn't want to do my financial disclosures. And she sat side by side with me for hours, my attorney, helping me fill them out. So that was an expensive use of her time, and not what she's um, not what her strengths are. So what we talk about is having one place that people can come, all things divorce. And we are really looking to change the face of divorce. It actually, our tagline used to be redefining divorce. And then we changed it. So it's best a new vision for divorce, but it really is changing what is available for people. Because when you're going through it, you're feeling so alone. You don't know what to do. You don't know who to trust. And to have one place that has vetted professionals and all are kind of speaking the same language, and working together to help you get through it in the best way. So what Vesta does is we educate. So we have webinars and videos that are free for people. We connect them to vetted professionals that are, whose specialties really match, their needs and what they're looking for. And we empower people. Information is power. So to give people the guidance that they need. And we'll talk more about, some success stories. We have pages and pages of testimonials. And every time we get one, like each one of them is so special to us. But we really want to make a difference for people and for their families. So I'm also a grandchild of divorce and a daughter of divorce. So it's especially important, a real passion of mine to make a difference for people. And luckily, around 14 years ago, I connected with Mandy on a single parent ski trip with their kids, and we became fast friends. And now we're working together to change the face of divorce.
Awesome.
Mhm.
So, Mandy, if you can introduce
Yeah,
yourself.
of course. Thank you so much for having us, Michael. I am just such a big fan of the work that you're doing and am grateful that we were connected by one of our trusted estate attorneys in Massachusetts. My name is Mandy Pullen Barr, and I have been with Vesta for 6 years. My work prior to Vesta was in hospitality. So, as the organization was growing, Deanna needed support in the event space, and my skills kind of naturally translated into it. And probably about a year into the event planning, I was like, oh, what is this concierge work? And I
Mm.
just knew that that was where I wanted to direct my energy because that's really where we get to work one-on-one with families that are navigating the complexities of divorce and be able to help build a roadmap forward. And yeah, so it's really been a honor and a privilege to be able to be part of the organization for the last 6 years and with the concierge team, I guess, for the last 4.5 years.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. That's amazing. And what I see, obviously, from my side, catering to a lot of families that have unique needs.
Yeah.
For what I see is that there's a human side to divorce, you know, and it's very important that there's a lot of people that believe that they hear the word divorce and they think it's destruction or devastation. And in reality, when you see it from a professional point of view and you I would say attack each area from an emotional standpoint, from a financial standpoint, and each thing is aligned, I think that's where good co-parenting begins. You know,
Mm,
missions are aligned and all that. So I would love to see if you can share some of the challenges that you see with you know, people facing divorce. You know, there's a couple stages. There's before, during, and after.
Mm,
right.
But would love to hear your thoughts around that because there may be a lot of families out there that again, they may not make a decision because they only think that this is a devastation stage in their life. But in
mm.
Right.
reality, you know, this could be a good benefit for anybody who, you know, mental health, they want to be a good co-parenting or and they can find alignment possibly in divorce. So
Yeah.
yeah, if you can share some challenges that you
Yeah.
see.
Let's start with people who are thinking about divorce. And one thing we do talk a lot about is at Vesta, we don't advocate for people to get divorced. It's more that they've come to us because there's some challenges,
Correct.
communication around parenting, finances, whatever it is. Um, but to see, we one of the first questions we ask people when we're talking to them as concierge is, what have you done to work on your relationship? Have you tried marriage counseling?
Mm,
Um, and we also do have professionals who can help in those areas, including discernment coaches. So discernment coaching versus therapy, I mean, could work well in tandem with that.
mm,
But discernment coaching is more, kind of goal setting, more action oriented, a whole different way to kind of look at, what can they do to work on the marriage, and if they do decide to move apart, how best to go through that in the best interest of the family. So I think one of the first things people struggle with is whether to get separated or divorced or not. And especially if there's children, they
mm,
worry about the impact on them. And then what we tell people is no matter when they decide to go through divorce, whether it's earlier or later, they often can look at it and what if I did something different, right? And you do the best that you know how to do at the time with what you have, and then you learn, and then you can grow with that. And for people who are in starting or in the midst of the divorce process, a lot of challenges in like who to hire, what professionals do I need? Oh, if I hire an attorney, I'm already paying the attorney so much. So how can I afford these other professionals? And that's what I was, talking about in the beginning, is when you have the right professionals in the right areas who are priced appropriately in that way, and also, can, when applicable, work together to help you get through it in the best way, then they're communicating with each other and you're not playing like the phone game, right? Where things get changed, and or the attorney's billable hours are increasing because you're telling them all the things from the other professionals, and hearing different things. So I think really just first of all knowing what their options are and knowing that they're trusted resources, who to trust, to feel that you're part of a community when you feel so alone when you're going through that. So there's a lot of so Vesta provides, for all stages. And then afterwards, a lot of times, and I know this, and Mandy does, you're at the end and you're done and you're like, okay, I'm done, but how come I don't feel better? Or oh, I might have some regrets, or there's things I still have to implement. Like the divorce isn't just over. Like for me, it took me 5 years for us to finally implement the quadro. And there were some mistakes made that could have been very costly to me. So there's just a lot of things to do afterwards as well. And we provide guidance around that. So, and Mandy, but that's you.
Yeah, no, I think that I always start, with what keeps you up at night.
Mm,
And because that is usually the piece that is going to be the biggest hang up or the biggest hurdle to get over. And whether it be the kids or it be the finances or it be the home, everybody has that one thing that they that keeps them up at night and that they think about. Um, and I think that the other big nugget is working through your emotions before you get into any of the practical applications that's involving divorce. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
whether you're the one initiating it or you're the one that has received the news, um, working through the complexity of like that grief or that, feeling of loss, and
Yeah.
whether it be with a coach or it be with a parenting expert or a divorce coach, I think is really kind of
Yeah.
best place to start.
Yeah. No, I agree. You know, when we talk about families with complicated needs, the
Mm,
divorce rate is very high. And obviously,
Yeah.
like Diana said, I don't promote divorce either. But the
hmm
divorce rate, the reality is that divorce rate is very high. And Mandy,
Right.
I think at one point, Mandy, I mentioned that I almost got divorced at one
hmm
time, but we were able to figure it out. But not everybody you can figure it out, right?
Yeah.
And I would say that, it's even more difficult because when you have a child that either breaks you or, you know, or puts the relationship tighter, this topic it's becoming more, I would say, well, you can see in the percentages. I think it right now I saw the other day. I don't know if it's an actual study, but it's over 80%.
Yeah.
Very high. Very.
Yeah.
And that's why I think Vesta is, I would say, what should be the centralized hub because for any family that's going through, in special needs, I would say, because there's so many factors. If you
Right.
have a therapist, if you have a coach prior, like you mentioned, prior going through a process, maybe they can identify areas in which they can work, before even doing anything. But we see that a lot, and we see different family dynamics, right? I think I mentioned, yeah, I mentioned it to you before. We see a lot of blended families because of the divorce rate.
Right.
We see that each blended families at the end of the day, they're amazing. They make it work, but the planning that goes into helping the family plan is kind of complex because everybody's thinking, pushing for their own original family's agenda, and then they need to come together to work as a team. And that complex planning needs, like you mentioned, a team. And I think that
Mm,
when you're going through a divorce, as in therapy, for example, Christian, my son, he's
hmm
7. He's 7 now. He was diagnosed with autism 4 years ago. We learned that what you just mentioned, Mandy and Diana, is it's essential is building that team.
mm,
There's not one professional who can help you in all the areas you need in any type of
Yeah.
process or planning. For us, it was occupational therapy, speech, behavior,
mhm,
and we worked as a team. And I believe that that same how mindset should be applied in divorce.
mm. It's interesting. The clients that I've had the privilege of speaking with who are navigating divorce with special needs children, it always seems that there's one parent that's in denial
Oh yeah.
of what
Ah,
of what services or what support is needed for the child as well as for the marriage. And I
right.
and I wonder, and perhaps you can share based on your own experience, if that is kind of the catalyst of or the start of the breakdown of the marriage is living
Yeah.
in this space of denial.
We were in denial for a long time. And I think denial after we gained, but the denial was not from a marriage perspective, but that he didn't have autism.
Right.
Okay.
We were
Right.
like, no, he doesn't have anything. And obviously, coming from a Hispanic background, you would
Mm,
have our family, hey, don't worry, you were the same. So
Look how you turned out. Like,
I know,
Hmm.
but that could procrastinate any early intervention because, family can give you the right advice, but it doesn't mean that they have the right experience.
Yeah.
right,
And I
Yeah.
think that that's so essential when looking for professionals, right?
right.
But the denial was there. Um, I would say it was, and I gotta say, like it's because of the ego. My,
Mm,
my ego, and was too much. We didn't want to face the reality. It
Mm,
was more around. This is changing our plans, our career.
mm,
It was a curveball. But after he got diagnosed, we came into acceptance, and we realized that just denial was just a reflection of how selfish we were. We were
huh.
we were we
wow.
were only thinking about ourselves
Wow.
and how it changed us and our family dynamic, and not really putting the concentration on Christian. But you're right. You're right. Thank you for that, because denial is something that it can apply either to a diagnosis or a marriage that's not working and
Mm,
somebody believes it is.
Right.
True, true. That's a good one. Thank you, Mandy.
mm. And it's interesting that you say acceptance because that is something that comes up a lot on our calls and when when we do the Clarity Catalyst workshops,
Yeah,
that acceptance is something that you have to practice sometimes because it may not come easily, right? If you're the one receiving the news that your spouse wants wants a divorce.
yeah. But again, the sentence for us is not only hearing the news and now there's no reality. It's also, okay, now from now on, how are we working together to make this new reality
Right.
flourish, right?
Yeah.
Are we going to because something I would ask you guys this, something that happens to us as parents with special needs is that usually we get disconnected. We did get disconnected, I would say, in two areas. One, that we focus too much on the child and we lose focus in ourselves.
Mm,
That would be one. And secondly, what I see a lot is that usually parents take roles and don't talk to each other. So one only does the therapies, the routines, the meals, and the other one is just household income and expenses. And
Yeah, right.
it comes to a point that there's no real connection. It's just you do your thing, and it's like almost delegation. And
mm,
that's not good either, I would say,
right.
from my point of view.
Yeah. And even if you have neurotypical children,
Hmm.
it is a common path, right? That especially when you're younger children, that you're not putting as much time or energy into nurturing that relationship, nurturing your marriage, nurturing
Right.
the commitment that when you made that you said I do. Um, you know, and I think that it's also pretty common that if you're the caretaker, you stop caring for yourself,
Yeah.
whether it be exercise or just overall mental health, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And that just stacks up over time until there's a breaking point.
Well, I see it. I see it a lot. And also something that I do see, and you know, there's a lot of ways to look at denial and acceptance and all that. And the way, like I just mentioned, that parents could get disconnected. But at one point, that disconnection can also become now a bottleneck in making decisions.
Right.
Mm,
Because you're so disconnected, you're doing your thing, you're just leaving time pass by, and you're not making decisions. You're not, working on yourself as a marriage, or you're not making a decision with an estate plan, you know, and that is a dangerous, I would say, position to be in, because, you confuse being comfortable with, not making a decision for moving forward.
yeah.
I see that a lot.
Right.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. I've never thought about it in that way, but it's true
Yeah.
that creating a bottleneck and then nothing is really getting done.
Nothing and nothing and I'm and again I'm just speaking from my perspective
Mm,
with Christian and Amanda, is that even I became a bottleneck at one point, and it I was confused that bottleneck was the one that was carrying everything and not necessarily is the one also just stopping the decisions of the family.
Mm.
So yeah, so that's what I see. But let's talk a little bit more about Vesta. So it seems, Diana, that the generational patterns that you have from your grandparents and parent being divorced shaped the way you created Vesta. Am I correct?
Right. Yes, absolutely.
So I would love to see about your perspective about of how Vesta has been helping families, aside from just coordinating and having all these resources that I would suggest any parent or anybody who's contemplating divorce, just visit Vesta. It's just get that exposure because it's really good. The webinars they provide is amazing. But yeah, Diana, I would love to know, based on your generational patterns, what was your thought process when creating Vesta?
Yeah, I think well, so it started just from, first of all, like from a need to kind of recreate my career because I couldn't go. I was a securities analyst working on Wall Street. I left that in 2003 and then got separated in 2008, right whenever the financial crisis, everything was happening. I also, even without that, I was in a line of work that if you're out of it for more than a year, it's really hard to get back in. So I couldn't go back to doing what I used to do. So I was looking for a job when I was first separated, and I started looking for jobs that paid a fraction of what I used to make, and they wouldn't even send me on the interview. They're like, you're overqualified.
Mm.
So it brought me the only outreaches or responses to my resume I was getting were financial services firms who were looking for financial planners to start, and then you're working commission only, right? So, um, and you're building your business from scratch.
Yeah,
And it was very, very challenging. I started, Mandy's heard this. I started by like, oh, long-term care insurance and cold calling people at dinner time, talking to them about like, have you thought about your 6 activities of daily living and what you're going to do when you get older?
yeah,
So it was just very challenging. And then, the marketing people at my firm, the firm that I used to work for when I was building Vesta, were like, you need to develop a niche. So I started like talking to auto body shop owners and doctors. Like I would bring my son to his pediatrician and then I'd be like, hey, have you done any planning for your business? And I'd be shut down. And so I was actually on a ski trip with some other financial planners from the firm, and one of them, very successful, he in the LGBTQ community. And he said, we're sitting by the fire one night, and he's like, what about divorce? Like that, people going, and I was like, oh my God, sometimes things are so obvious. And so I started building just the workshops and gathering professionals who could help people in all different areas. And that's really, how Vesta started. And now I'm going so much into that. Oh, okay. So then it's like I have to bring myself back. Um, so it really started from necessity. But as I was doing it, I was like, wow, I'm really passionate about helping people. And oh, by the way,
Mm.
I was working on myself at the time and really reflecting back on the patterns and how things that my mom passed on without wanting to
yeah,
because of her blended family and issues she had with her stepfather and tough times. And then she couldn't be the mother she wanted to be to me. And so I developed things that I then, passed on to my kids without realizing it. And I'm like, people, they recreate these situations without wanting to, but that's what they're comfortable with, or that's what they know, especially if they haven't worked on themselves. So I was like, I want to make a difference, not only for my children, so that my kids have like both parents in their life. And, it looks different. It's not how we had planned it, and it's still amazing for them. And while I'm at it, let's help as many other people as we can to break this pattern.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
That's nice. At least you were able to get that in that conversation. in our case, obviously it was obvious having Christian here, knowing that we went through a similar, I would say, experience in the sense that when we started looking for our own financial planner, we couldn't find one.
Ah,
Mm,
So even though I was already looking for something to do because I came from corporate like you, I needed to do something from home because I needed to be present. I was only traveling.
ah.
So
oh,
that,
interesting.
yeah,
So that's
because
how
that,
you started doing
yeah,
what you
because,
do.
correct, because that's what I'm saying. So, life experiences in some cases can convert into an opportunity to help other families, right?
Yes,
But
absolutely.
my mother used to say necessity is the mother of all invention.
100%, 100%. And so it resonates what you just mentioned. And now going back to Vesta and in our, I would say, community in the special needs community or neurodivergent, there's a lot of families burnt from bad information.
Mm,
Social media sometimes puts too much information like a hook, and when they get you in, it's not what they promoted,
Ah,
etc. So that's where I see Vesta adding so much value because you do your own vesting process, I would say,
mm,
for professionals. And that's very
right.
important. That's very important for the families that are listening because it's not that just
Yeah,
anybody can come in, apply, and get approved. There
right.
is a vetting process, and that's very important for us because again, social media can withstand anything you post, but not
Mm.
necessarily those who are posting have the experience needed to be able to cater to your situation. So, can you talk a little bit about the vesting process and so forth?
Yeah, man, do you handle so much of that? Why don't you?
yeah, I mean, some people joke that it's harder to get into Vesta than it is to, get a federal job or something. Um, Honestly, so many of our professionals come to us from other professionals because they know the quality of individuals that we bring on board. But typically, it starts with somebody learning about our services, and then they either get on a call with myself or Deanna, or they join a interested professionals webinar where they get to learn about Vesta from a 30,000-foot view and really understand our who we are as an organization, our ethos, our mission, and one of Vesta's co-founders, Bob Vona, says right up front, if you think that this is a networking company, if you think that this is, you can kindly leave. I mean, he starts the presentations off with because he doesn't want anyone to be go
Yeah.
forward with us if they're not aligned with our goals and our mission. Um, and in the 6 years doing this, I have certainly gotten burned by not having somebody attend a session or not watch the recording. So then they join and then they don't really know who we are.
Yeah.
And then, their expectations aren't met. So that's really important. I think that people sometimes tend to realize, okay, this isn't what I want to be part of. And then from there, they interview with members of the senior management team. Typically, they'll speak with somebody on our advisory board. So whether it be an attorney that's looking to join, they'll speak with somebody, one of our attorneys, a therapist, etc. And then from there, there's a lengthy application process. So, I mean, we really kind of go through I mean, it can take up to 2 months to get somebody onboarded, really. And then there's the background check, of course. And then we also make sure that they attend sessions. So if they're going to be part of a hub, that they attend the session as an attendee. So they have the experience of what a potential client goes through, right? The journey of receiving the email reminders, the journey of the follow-up, the interactions with the concierge, and so that they know, like, oh wow, they really are doing all the things that they say that they're doing.
I think the vetting process too, in terms of what the participants, the people who come to us get, right? We want to have somebody who's not just new in the career, just looking to get leads.
Yeah.
We want
Yeah.
somebody who's been doing it, who's well established, and also has the care and the compassion
Oh yeah.
Mm,
and the passion. Most of our professionals have had some personal experience, whether they've been through divorce themselves, been a child of divorce, have had family members, people close to them. So I think people's why, the professional's why, is so important. And so
mm,
when people are speaking with us in the concierge, there's 5 women in the concierge, we've all been through divorce. They know that we get it because we've experienced it, and they know that we're on the other side and doing really well. So they're like, I can be there too. And the same with the professionals, to really feel and know that they really care. And so that what the professionals get is they get to, help more people. And of course, they also are able to build their business in the way they want to. And one of our amazing professionals who has been on our advisory board since the beginning, in the legal areas, David Kellum, and he talks about for the professionals, they get to do well by doing good. And I think that is just, so key
Yeah,
mm.
100%,
to what
100%.
Vesta is
Yeah.
about.
Yeah, yeah, and that's where I believe it adds value, and it's amazing because again, it's not just a directory that you go and it's
Right.
real a
Right.
real professional, I would say vetted process that you know that
Hmm.
whoever you contact, it's vetted, it's who they say they are, and
Hmm.
they provide this with empathy and ethics and all that. That
Mm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
One of the sorry, one of the things I forgot to say is that collaborative in nature. So
Yeah,
that they are not going to take on clients and not, bring in the other experts if it's needed. It's really important. I mean, that's just part of who we are and our ethos is this collaborative nature.
that's good. That's good. And if you guys see me looking below it, I have my notes.
Your notes, your
Yeah,
teaching.
yeah. Yeah, it's here. So, can you share testimonial or a use
Yeah.
case? I would love for families to, just hear one or two if you have any.
Yeah, I actually, and I don't know if you brought any Mandy.
I
I know you.
didn't. Deanna is always more prepared than I am
Oh,
for these sorts of things. She
but
went
this
to
is,
an Ivy League. I went to Boston
oh,
University.
Mandy's amazingly hard worker and very smart and compassionate, and
Oh,
it's my
thanks, girl.
pleasure to work with you. But one of the testimonials that has always stuck out in my mind, and this was actually, it was back from 2019. And this was actually, so before COVID, Vesta did all of our events in person. And
Mm,
then during COVID, we switched everything to online, which allowed us to reach a lot more people, made a lot more easier for people to be able to attend events for privacy, or also not having to travel or get a babysitter. Um, anyway, so here's somebody, her name's Janet, and she's amazing. So she texted me. So we had had a call, and so she's gone to some of our events, and at the events they hear so much information, but we always tell them you're only gonna, take away like, a snippet or two. Like, don't try to, and then come back and you'll hear things newly
Mm.
or hear other things. But she sent me a text and she said, all of you at Vesta saved me. My experience trying to refinance my mortgage with my current large bank by myself was humiliating, exhausting, and awful. I went to a Vesta event in September. It was clear then that getting divorced was a specialty. Working with divorce savvy professionals was important, humane, imperative. I contacted you in tears, so worn out by impersonal strangers that were robotic and not empathetic. You saved my soul, my sanity. Thank you for connecting me with Amy Slotnick, who actually happens to be the sister of David Kellum,
mm,
who I mentioned earlier, and she's on our advisory board, in the mortgage capacity. She said, Amy was professional, divorce savvy, efficient, absolutely amazing experience. Thank you for creating Vesta. Thank you for creating a team of wonderful and amazing experts who can guide us all through the terrifying landscape of this daunting divorce journey. And so the story continues. So her sister ended up going through divorce. She brought her sister to Vesta, and her
Wow.
sister is equally exuberant and appreciative. Um, and she then, after her divorce, she started dating a gentleman who had been going through divorce for like 10 years and couldn't move it forward. I had a call with both of them. His divorce, even though he was on the East Coast with her now, his divorce was in California,
Mm.
where he had lived many, many years before with his wife, and connected
Oh,
him
I know
to
what client you're talking about now.
connected
Yes.
him to Patricia Van Haren,
Yep, yep, yep.
our amazing mediator out in California. And the divorce went through. They ended up messaging me several times saying, we love you. Like we're just
Mm.
slow and steady wins the race. Oh, she said your podcast was a true gift, just like you. Anyway, then he ended up going through divorce. He sent me an email saying, I struggled for years on how to approach my divorce. Patricia was
Wow.
perfect. She shepherded us through mediation. My divorce was final on June 28th. I'm so glad I reached out to you. Divorce can be daunting. I'm so glad it's over. Thank you for your dedication to helping people through difficult endeavors.
Yeah.
And then a while after that, they got married.
Mm-hmm.
So Janet and Steve got married and sent me pictures and videos from their wedding. So
Oh,
Nice.
that's one of my favorite
Nice.
success stories, and we have tons of them.
Awesome.
But
That's
it's
all.
what drives us every day. And I know that was long-winded, but you could tell how
I feel like
passionate
that
I
should have
am.
been the grand finale because anything that I say now is going to be like nothing compared to that.
No, but that's amazing. And
Oh, it
and
is.
again, even though in our case we don't promote divorce, but we
Of
do
course.
anything that happens should be peaceful
Yes.
and should and never, I would say, would shouldn't affect the children.
Mm.
Well, you always want to look for that best interest. And even more if there is a child that has, complex medical needs.
Yeah.
So now, I believe divorce is evolving, and I see that you guys too. So I believe that now, hopefully, I can be part of helping you guys with the special needs
Yes.
area. But also, do you see other areas that you might want to get into that lane as well, that you might see as, hey, this is could be another
Mm.
area that special needs could be one, but I see other areas that we might want to be or thinking of expanding there.
Hmm. I'm going to answer that because
You go ahead.
when I was caring for my mom,
Hmm.
I
Ah,
for a while I felt very strongly about having an arm for people that are navigating, aging parents.
yeah.
Um, because as it would be, the people that are divorcing
Yeah,
oftentimes are also caring for their parents and the strain that it puts on that relationship.
yeah,
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. Actually, I think the term, if I'm not mistaken, the sound, have you ever
Sandwich
heard the term
generation. Yeah,
sandwich?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That
Yep.
Right.
they're caring for the kids and at the same time for their parents.
Yep.
Um,
Right.
yeah, that's huge pressure. I
Mm.
uh,
And I think that there's still so much that we have yet to tackle in the divorce space,
oh yeah,
right? Like
Mm,
we talk a lot about, a lot like expanding our post-divorce offerings, kind of getting more into that, estate planning and, really leaning into that like next chapter. Um, but-
I think that's gold because the personal side after a divorce,
mm,
sometimes there's a lot of people that just start from scratch and they're like,
yeah.
now what?
Yeah.
You've been married so long, you've been used to a lifestyle, kids and everything. And now you're starting from scratch at another age. So I see that there could be, post divorce um, conversations around maybe
Mm.
helping, you know, those now newly scratched um, individuals trying to identify themselves now at this new stage.
Yeah, especially if there are kids with special needs. There's like a whole,
Mm.
yeah.
It's huge.
Mm,
And I see it a lot, and that's where I would love to just take a moment and just share what we in special needs also see is that there's often conversations not talked about a lot around siblings.
Yes.
mm,
Right.
They often often thought that they're going to become a guardian, and conversations throughout their lifespan are not talked about, and from one moment to another now you're becoming a guardian. And I've seen some cases that sibling, if they become a guardian, sometimes the relationship can be kind of torn with
yeah,
Mm.
with the brother because now they feel that they're forced to become a guardian. And secondly, that they don't want to because they want to have their own family and they have their own plans. There's a lot that they do, obviously, because it's been, instilled with them throughout their lifespan. But I see that a lot. Something that I do see a lot is grandparents. I think
Yeah.
mm.
I mentioned to you guys that, for example, my mom, she's the best
Abuela.
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 She's the best grandmother. She's the best cook. But
Oh,
yeah, she's
nice.
awesome, and she's a champion. But at the end of the day, also from our side, there's a lot of things that we would love to include her, but we cannot because physically she cannot take care of the children, right?
Yeah,
Ah,
So, it's those conversations that I believe that having a team obviously aligned with Vesta can help that parent align all these areas that they might not be seeing.
right.
That they're hitting gaps, I would say, that because
yeah.
they're so focused on the child, they're so focused on the day to day, that they're
Mm,
not seeing these type of, family dynamics that at one point need to be addressed.
Mm.
yeah. When I went through my divorce 18 years ago, we put in language that if something happened to one or the other, that the surviving parent would make every effort to keep relations and
Good.
with the other family.
That's,
Um, because I think it's important, right?
that's
And
very,
yeah.
that's good. That's good.
But
So,
and I also wonder, kind of going back to the neurotypical versus the neurodivergent
yeah.
sibling dynamic, that I wonder if some of it also comes from as a child being put in a position to having to care for their sibling, and now as an adult there's still that resistance, right? Or resentment from what had to be done as a child.
Yeah, in our case, for example, Amanda's only four, Christian seven.
Okay.
But what we're trying to do, and again, there's no perfect formula. And I'm not saying this for any family to try it. And at the end of the day, everybody knows their children and everything, but we're trying to get her involved as much as possible in
Mm,
with Christian's activities. So she can see it as, this is part of the family dynamic. She shouldn't feel
mm,
isolated, but she should feel involved. And even though she's only four, but you can see that right now, for example, the other day, there was kind of like a meltdown because Christian didn't want a specific spoon. So Amanda went and I couldn't find, I was looking for it, and Amanda knew where was that spoon that he wanted. And she came and she gave it to him. And that's what I'm saying. So when she's so
mm,
involved, now she sees that when he's in a meltdown, she's there to help.
mm-hmm.
Not necessarily that means that she's going to be the caregiver later on because we don't know, but at least there's this caregiving approach.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be forced, but at the same time, It could be vice versa. Maybe later on, Christian is the one helping her. But it's around that love and caregiving approach that we are always going to help each other no matter what.
Mm,
And I think that will help. If anything, if we would need that type of conversation with her, but um each family's different. I think that
yeah,
the main goal is not to for that sibling to feel isolated. I would say that would be the main goal.
yeah,
This is tough,
mm,
very tough. And the grandparents the same, right? Because like
yeah,
I mentioned, some grandparents are like my mom. In my case, we try to involve her in conversations, but there are also families that all see grandparents as a contingent plan, but they're not involved in planning conversations.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
I see that.
Yeah, and
So,
I think sorry, one last thought is I think that there's also generational thoughts, right, about how to raise a kid.
yeah,
Now how to raise a kid with, with special needs. And I think that some of the older philosophies or mentalities, right? So my parents, well, my mom's deceased, but she would have been 82 and my dad's 81, like is
yeah.
very different than the
Oh yeah.
way kids are raised today. So,
100%. And
yeah.
it's happened to us, for example, our circle after his diagnosis, our circle became very small.
Mm,
And
Ah,
what we try to do is try to educate those who are in the circle, try to educate them enough so we don't feel judgment, but at the same time, we create boundaries. At the same time, we are creating relationships and, getting it stronger in a way, but it respecting each other, but it's a mutual benefit for everybody.
yeah.
But the circle does become smaller.
yeah,
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, very small. So so now where people can find Vesta, I think it's around where people can find you, what can they expect? I think that would be very beneficial for the listeners to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, our website is vestadivorce.com, Vesta divorce.com. And they can explore the website. They can go to the concierge tab to learn more about us and how the concierge service, which is a complimentary service, can help them. They can look for events and they can also look for professionals. So we also have a tab. It says free video, so they can immediately access the ABCs of divorce and or the top 10 divorce mistakes. So I say that the first thing is just attending something and or reaching out to us.
Mm.
We've talked to so many people and so many of them say how hard it was for them just to make the phone call
Mm,
Well,
and how happy they are that they made it.
yep.
That they feel like they're finally talking to somebody who understands what they're going through, who has the experience to help them and the compassion to want to help them.
Mm,
So they feel very supported once they take that step. But it can, and by taking that step and educating themselves in whichever way they do, it's just to give them more information and empowerment to move in whatever direction turns out to be best for them. So that's how, yeah, that's what I would say would be
perfect.
a good way to start. Anything else, Mandy, in terms of?
yeah, I mean our 800 number is 877-355-7649, and either myself or Deanna is answering that call.
Awesome, awesome. No, perfect. And I just want to say one more thing. I have it in my notes. I had it as the last part, so let me
Uh-oh.
mention it.
Oh,
That for those listening, I truly believe that best if you're contemplating divorce, something that I do see a lot of the families I serve is that they believe that they can do it themselves. And
Mm,
something
right.
and something that I want to address is that a lot of the families, including myself at one point, you might feel that you're in cruise control, but you're going the wrong way if you're doing it by yourself. And
Mm-hmm.
so I truly believe that if you are thinking about it, just having a conversation, everything starts with a conversation.
Right.
yes, absolutely.
So I would highly suggest Vesta if you're even thinking about it. And Deanna and Mandy, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. And I do
You,
want to
Michael.
do one last pitchy pitch that we do have many folks within our network that have a specialty supporting families with special needs. So whether it be attorneys or coaches or parent coaches, estate people. So we have lots of folks that, and usually our parents are also parents
Yeah.
of special needs children.
Right.
Awesome. Awesome. Perfect. Well, thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure. And everybody, thank you so much. The links are going to be in the description. So once again, thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank
So